Amanda. Here. Sam. Andrew Shushu.
Here.
Ryan.
Here.
Allie. Here. Joseph. Here. Okay.
Here.
Devin. Janine. Unabat. Nick.
Here.
Kate. Here. Leo.
Here.
Rory.
Here.
Malat. Here. Rebecca L. Here. Rebecca S. Here. Duran. John.
Here.
Andrew Young.
Here.
Elena. Mark. Corey.
Thank you, Hannah. As the minutes were sent out last week, right?
Motion to waive reading.
There's a motion on the table to waive reading of the minutes. Is there a second? Seconded by Andrew. Questions to the wording? Discussion? All those in favor of waiving the reading of the minutes, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Sorry, you guys missed a very interesting barrel roll that happened in the back of the room. Anyways, the motion first. Ryan?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion on the table to approve the minutes, seconded by Malat. Questions to the wording? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Allie, for the extremely lovely meeting minutes. They were truly exceptional, and we're happy to have you back here.
Just saying.
All right, so we're going to move through the agenda, and we're going to go to public comments. So are there any public comments on the floor? Seeing that there are none, we are going to jump to new business first with the report from the Gender Neutral Bathrooms Initiative. As you all are aware of, we allocated a fairly substantial amount of money to this project in order to increase the number of gender neutral bathrooms available on campus, and that money came from the human surplus portion of the student activities fee. And so we have a member from the group, Stephanie, if you'd like to give us an update on what's been happening and how the couple of months have gone for you.
Okay, so I've been meeting with the Dean of Students from Diagram, Jason Selesky, as well as Mike Dolly, who's the head of the school plant, just to work out some of the little details of what we still have to do. Right now, we are in the midst of contacting all faculty and staff who work in the areas of the bathrooms to make sure they don't have any concerns about the changes. This is something that was suggested to us by the deans and Mike. And that's just taking a long time because you have to collect emails and walk around and talk to people and answer emails and you can just address every single concern that people have. So that's what we're in the middle of right now. Also, what we have been doing is from the data we collected last year, this doesn't really go into the money that you guys gave us, but part of our project, we wrote descriptions of the bathrooms in each of the dorms and sent that along to Kevin Forty so that he could include that in the housing description. Since we're not going to be changing any of the bathrooms in the dorms, students will be able to pick a dorm that has bathrooms that are suitable to them. So that is done. And we have been making decisions about the signage that we're going to be putting on the doors, as well as the different signs we're going to be putting in the buildings to direct individuals to the bathrooms. So right now we're doing a lot of logistics. I need to meet with the carpenter, whose contact I have. Once I'm done contacting all the faculty and staff who have concerns. And I think that's pretty much it. I don't know if you guys have questions.
Questions for Stephanie? I have one. When is your estimated end date for the project?
Right now we're hoping to get construction done relatively soon. We don't really have an end date. We're hoping by the end of the semester all changes will be done within the month, not really within the month, within the next few weeks. I should be done contacting people and addressing all their concerns. So once that is done, that's when I'll be meeting with the carpenter and he will be doing what he needs to do. So it should be, everything should actually, construction blocks and signs should be being added relatively soon.
Very exciting. Is there anything you need from student council in order to make this happen?
I don't think so. Not that I'm aware of.
Well, Unless anyone else has questions, I want to thank you for coming in and thank you for updating us. And please, keep in contact if there are any major changes that we should be aware of, or when things start rolling out, we'd like to be informed. So, just if you could keep us in the loop, that'd be lovely. And thank you very much for coming in, and good luck with the next steps of your project. Alrighty, we're going to move down into financial matters. So, Kate, for the grants report.
I would like to move to allocate $768 from quarter 4 to Cubs.
There's a motion on the table to allocate $768 from quarter 4 to Cubs. Is there a second? Second by Andrew. Questions for wording? Discussion. Kate?
The Cubs came to us requesting $960 to take their group to the Science Museum with their year-end trip. We do believe that this is a truly incredible club and organization, and we would love to help them out. So we decided to fund them a specific percentage of the amount that they requested in the hopes of bringing down the cost of going to the trip substantially. We didn't fund the whole thing with hopes that perhaps they could go to find other ways of funding the full request, as well as possibly supplementing some of the money from some of the members. And there is a representative here, so if you would like to speak.
Yeah, basically we want to take the kids to the Science Museum. We have a lot of kids going, so we're thinking that we're going to need 3 buses and such like that. So it just adds up fast. So the money that you give us will go for the tickets for the kids to go to the museum.
And in reality, we need the full amount in order to make this a possibility, or else we're going to have to tell some people that they can't. They most likely can't go. We have no option for fundraising within the parameters of Big Brothers itself.
Do you have a portion, or sorry, are there questions? Andrew?
So remind me again why we can't fund the entire thing?
Kate?
Just keeping in mind that we do, towards the end of the year, we will have a lot of more requests coming in. So we wanted to try to cut down on what we've been funding recently. And we do fully support this organization completely. But it does become harder to fully fund every request that we get as the end of the year draws in.
Ryan?
Yeah, just to expand on that a little bit. There have been a lot of really good requests this year, and having been an advisor of grants committee last year as well, I think the percentage of our requests that are really solid, good requests that we would like to fund in full has really increased. And I think grants committee noticed that going forward, noticed that they were funding a lot of requests in full, and that might lead to the fund being expended before the end of the year. And so the hope was that while this was a good benefit, I think the number you chose was 80%. Yeah. So they wanted to fund 80% of this, but just in the interest of making sure there's money remaining towards the end of the semester. Just the thought process behind this.
I motion to increase the recommendation to 960.
There's a motion on the table to amend the recommendation to increase the total recommendation to the total allocation to $960. Is there a second? Seconded by Joseph. Questions to the wording? Discussion. Andrew?
As Kate said before, it's a great opportunity for a lot of local Worcester students, or for Clark students and Worcester people to get together and work together. And it's an opportunity for student council to show that we're involved with the community of which we live in. And with the amount of students going, I think it's a solid investment.
Kate?
We did keep that in mind, and we did really want to try to full fund as much as we could. And because there were so many students coming, we were thinking that this could bring down the cost of buying tickets to make them be extremely reasonable for anybody who wanted to go. And although it is very difficult to ask people for the money, we thought that giving them this amount would cut down that price to a very small amount.
I heard Rebecca saying first.
Is there no way you guys can make up the rest of the money?
Well, so Cubs is through Big Brother Big Sister, so they're basically the same thing. So because we're Big Brother Big Sister cannot fundraise at school, so we can't do any fundraising ourselves to get more money. Basically, the money that you give us.
Is this event occurring like very soon?
We're gonna go in March. we're hoping to.
Becca?
I was just wondering what other things you, excuse me, like throughout the year, can you just like tell me a little bit about the program? Because I'm not really familiar with what you've been doing
So
throughout
what
the
we
year.
do is, it's a one-on-one mentoring, so one Clark student with one Worcester Public School elementary school child. So we go to Woodland and Goddard here. So they meet once a week, every week, unless there's like vacation or whatever. But then the money that student council gives us is for taking them places. So we took them bowling the first part of the last semester, and then we try and take them to Boston if possible. So that's why we pick the Science Museum. It's in Boston. It's educational for them. We haven't taken them there before because they don't go to Boston. Like they don't do a lot of stuff in Worcester, but they don't go to Boston really. So we really try. I mean, it's more expensive to take them there because the bus is more and the tickets are more for a bigger activity, but we feel it's well worth it for them to experience something new.
Winterbot?
Have you guys tried asking the museum if they can offer any support?
We have. We've gotten like the discounted price. I mean, like this is like the lowest that they can go for all of us to go. It just is a lot of people in our club.
Becca?
It sounds like a great idea. My only thing, if you doesn't pass it, you get the whole amount of money. Is there any way that you could possibly try and co-sponsor with another group who might have more money in their account? Just if you find any group on campus, like talk around with your friends. If anyone's on e-board and they happen to have extra money in their budget, see if you can co-sponsor with them so you can make it possible.
Other discussion? Okay, so we're going to be voting on whether or not to amend this allocation to the full amount, which is $960. So all those in favor of amending the allocation to $960 to Cubs from Q4, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? 1, 2, 3, 4 abstentions. Okay, motion carries. So the allocation is now amended to $960. And we're going to go back into discussion on the allocation as a whole. Baran? No. Ryan?
It sounds like a really great event. And this is more known to council. I think Grants is going to continue to try to be pretty conservative in their recommendations. So when the recommendations come before you as council, just keep in mind that that's what's coming out of Grants, and that they really are trying to make sure that the funds are held until the end of the year. So.
Thank you, Ryan. Further discussion? Rebecca?
For Ryan, is this taken out of, or Katie, Kate, would this be taken out of Q4 or Q3?
Q4.
Yeah.
Other discussion? Okay. All those in favor of allocating $960 to Cubs, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you guys. Kate?
I would like to move to allocate $150 from Q3 with a 2-week waiver to the management 100 group putting on the games on a screen event.
There's a motion on the table to allocate $150 from Q3 with a 2-week waiver to the management 100 group to put on games on a screen. Is there a second? Seconded by Ryan. Questions to the wording? Discussion, Kate?
This management 100 group came to us to put on an event in the hopes of raising money for the Worcester Animal Rescue League. They're hosting a video and board game night in the dining hall. The money would be going to buy prizes for the winner of the games, and there will be an animal costume contest, I believe, as well. And we decided not to fund the full amount because we thought that $750 was a little much for the prizes, and we felt $150 was more reasonable where we could get a larger prize and a couple smaller prizes. Is there a representative? No? Okay.
Discussion? Baran?
I don't know if we had discussed about this earlier, but for these management, for these management courses, if they don't get the money, it doesn't look like a grade anyway, right? I think this is a perfect decision.
Yeah, that's correct. it doesn't end up there. Anything else, Kate?
No, I think that's it. I mean, our thought process was along the same lines, that we thought it was a good event, but we didn't, 750 was a lot for the one event.
Further discussion? All those in favor of allocating $150 from quarter 3 with a 2-week waiver to the Management 100 group to put on games on a screen, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? 1 abstention? 2 abstentions. Motion carries. Kate?
Another Management 100 group came to us asking for $900 to screen the movie 50/50. And it would too be a fundraiser in this time for cancer research, and that was a specific group. 1540 group. The money was mostly going to buying the rights to show the movie as well as concessions. We decided to fund buying the rights, some of the rights to get the movie. And I believe there is a representative here. If you would like to speak.
Yeah. Basically, we're just trying to do a fundraiser for 1540. We would just have like a suggested donation box, and we'd show the movie in GF 320. A lot of that budget was for the licensing, which was like estimated to be $550 to $600, and then the rest was going to be on concessions. We're looking to co-sponsor with Cuffs, but we still haven't gotten word back for them. So.
Kate, would you like to make a motion? Yes.
I would like to allocate $400 from quarter 3 with a 2-week waiver to the Management 100 group screening 50/50.
There's a motion on the table to allocate $400 from quarter 3 with a 2-week waiver to the Management 100 group screening 50/50. Is there a second? Second by Rebecca. Questions to the wording, discussion, Kate?
Yep, basically everything we were just talking about. They did talk about possibly co-sponsoring with Cuffs, and so we took that into account when lowering it from that 550 to the 400, because we think it would be a really great movie to show. And yep, that's everything.
Allie?
Have you guys applied for a PCF request?
I think that's our next step.
Okay.
That's what we're doing.
Definitely do.
Yeah.
Other discussion? What is the 1540 group that you
It's a 1540 connection. It's like, I'm not sure where it's based it off of, but it's basically to raise awareness for people, like young people with cancer. It's between the ages of 15 and 40. And so the movie kind of lines up with that.
Interesting. Okay, thank you. Other discussion? Katie?
If you need help with contact information for Cuffs, let me know and I can help you.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Okay. All those in favor of allocating $400 from quarter 3 with a 2-week waiver to the Management 100 group screening 50/50, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions. Motion carries. Thank you guys. Kate?
I would like to move to allocate $800 from the equipment fund to the Ultimate Frisbee team.
There's a motion on the table to allocate $800 from the equipment fund to the Ultimate Frisbee team. Is there a second? Second by Andrew. Questions to the wording? Discussion. Kate?
The Ultimate Frisbee team came to us requesting jerseys for their team. The jerseys would go to the Ultimate Frisbee team as a whole, so the jerseys would stay there from year to year, and they would not belong to one particular person, which is why we felt it appropriate to allocate that $800, because it is an investment that would be going to the group as a total, and it would be coming out of the equipment fund. We also feel that the jerseys will help them build, a strong group and a strong team, and allow them to have a great presentation when they go and have one of their tournaments. And is there?
Yeah.
There is.
Yes, both of those.
If you guys would just like to speak to it a little bit more.
Yeah, we got a bunch of new people this year. We've been trying to carry on jerseys from year to year, but there's a couple things with that. One, the jerseys have been different colors from year to year, and so the matching hasn't worked. Generally, teams need 2 different light and dark colored jerseys in order to, you just need 2 different ones to match up with the other teams that you're playing against. And then, so basically, we just want to make sure that everyone on our team can have one, and we've got enough players right now, and we're looking for enough jerseys that we can just carry that from year to year.
Out of curiosity, what color will the jerseys be?
Black and gold.
It's pretty cool design, I saw it. Thank you.
Other discussion? Okay. All those in favor of allocating $800 from the equipment fund to the Ultimate Frisbee team, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? 1 abstention. Motion carries. Thank you. Kate?
Thank you.
I would like to allocate $130 from quarter 3 with a 2-week waiver to a management 100 group for the Huck Funger Ultimate Frisbee Tournament.
There's a motion on the table to allocate $130 from quarter 3 with a 2-week waiver to the management 100 group for the Huck Funder Ultimate Frisbee Tournament. Is there a second? Second by Andrew. Questions to wording. Discussion, Kate.
So this management 100 group came to us with the idea of putting on this Ultimate Frisbee Tournament. We are recommending this funding for prizes and food after speaking with the group in ways that they could cut down some of their costs. Is there a representative here?
I can talk about it if you guys want. I know about it. But it's not actually affiliated with the Ultimate Frisbee team or anything.
Corey?
I'm speaking as a friend of someone on the team because of the file of the money. It's a judiciary thing. But the file of the money, from what I've heard, about 130. So.
Thank you, Corey. Do you know anything else, Casey?
Basically, they rented out a space at the Dolan, and they're just putting on like a tournament that's meant for. It's not affiliated with the Open team in any way. It's actually meant to get like just anyone who's interested in playing casually or whatever into this area where they can compete like casually.
Okay. And also it is a fundraiser, and the money will be going to the Mustard Seed, which is a really good cause.
Can you tell us more about that?
The Mustard Seed, from what they told me, is a group that goes around and puts on dinners, I think, for people who are homeless or people who can't afford their own food. And they move around, I think, and provide dinners at different churches, different organizations, different groups, and stuff like that. So they're a really great group. And I believe they are Worcester-based, or there is a pretty substantial branch in Worcester.
All right. Is there any other discussion? All right. All those in favor of allocating $130 from quarter 3 with a 2-week waiver to the Management 100 group to put on the Huck Funger Ultimate Frisbee Tournament, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Abstentions. Motion passes. Kate.
Okay, so a group of students came to us asking for $70 to help fund. Oh my gosh. I would like to allocate $0 to the racquetball tournament.
There's a motion on the table to allocate $0 to the racquetball tournament. Is there a second? Second by Ryan. Questions to the wording. Discussion, Kate.
Okay, so a group of students came to us asking for $70 to help fund prizes for a racquetball tournament. The tournament has been done in years previous, and it has a large support both from faculty and students, and it's a great way to get faculty and students working together, and it sounded like a really fun event. The event was still in the planning stages, which was why we felt that we shouldn't allocate money at this time. We also thought the event, could draw a large crowd because of its nature, and there is a representative here. Would you like to speak to it?
Yeah.
Very popular too.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm working actually with Jason Zaleski to set up this racquetball tournament. Like Kit said, it was run 3-4 years ago for a number of years, and because of that, there's a lot of faculty that are already interested. There's a lot of other staff members that are interested, and they play on their own without this anyway. It's not just like. Yeah, anyway, so there's a bunch of people that already want to play, and I've talked to at least 20 students that are interested as well. So with those two things, it's a really cool opportunity to get students and faculty and staff like together, and especially in like a casual environment that you don't really get otherwise. I was looking to get some money for prizes as further incentive for people to join the tournament, as further incentive just to play hard and whatever. And you know, it's if you win a tournament, like it'd be nice to get something. But yeah.
Alex?
Have you applied for a PCF request?
I haven't.
You should, because we can co-sponsor up to $300 for any event on campus. So if you just go to clarku.edu/PCF, the form will come up and you just fill it out online.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ryan?
Yeah, Casey, since you're one of our more frequent visitors, I have 100% confidence you'll get this thing together, and it'll be great. And I know there's tons of people on campus who play racquetball, but I think just let's wait until we have a better sense of actually what's going on and how much money will be needed and how much money will be prizes, and then I would love to be able to fund this request.
Okay.
Other discussion? Rebecca? Other discussion? Okay. All those in favor of allocating $0 to this racquetball tournament, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Sorry, Casey.
All good.
Katie?
I would like to allocate $342 from quarter 3 with a 2-week waiver to a group of management 100 students working to put on a dodgeball tournament.
There's a motion on the table to allocate $342 from quarter 3 with a 2-week waiver to a group of management 100 students to put on a dodgeball tournament. Is there a second? Second by Sam. Questions to the wording, Kate? Or discussion, Kate?
So basically this management group came to us with a very well thought out and detailed plan to put on a dodgeball tournament. And although we thought that was a great event and everything, we thought that 1,500 about was a little much. So we decided to allocate a certain amount based on what we talked to them about, what they felt was necessary to put on the event. And although the money will be spent how they choose to do it, that's where our thought process kind of came from, was looking at what things we and they thought was necessary to put on, and that included EMT services and a prize for the event. So we recommend the 342. Sorry, the board with the forms finished. That was a typo.
Further discussion? Joseph?
This is for Kate. Their initial request is really high. What was their reasoning for that?
The original request included, I think about $400 for t-shirts, as well as about $400 for a limo ride to Boston, which would be the ultimate prize of winning the tournament. They also wanted to create a poster which would have the information about the organization that they're raising money for, which is, I'm trying to remember which organization it was. Oh, to benefit Toxic Soy Busters. And so there were a lot of different things, media, stuff like that, that went into their request. And so it did have a very good budget breakdown, but we felt, and we were discussing with them, that it wasn't all necessary. But that's kind of where a lot of the money was spent.
Further discussion? Do you want to pull out the actual totals?
Yeah, I need to check on that because I thought.
Hannah?
Sorry.
Okay, so with the $340, what can they do with that?
Yep, so I have that exactly what we were thinking of. Here, let me just find that.
Other discussion while we wait on Kate? Did you guys motion to be dodgeball? Leo?
What kind of group is sponsoring this? Like, who are the people that are doing the tournament?
Ryan?
It's a Management 100 group that's sponsoring, so it's like a few requests.
Other discussion?
Okay. So 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 the budget breakdown came to basically it's $24 to have EMT services, and I believe they also told us they're putting in a PCF request. So I like to keep an eye out for that one, which we also took into account when thinking about the whole thing. So it'd be about $24 for EMT services, And then $48 for the poster that would have all the information of the organization that they were raising funds for. And we thought that was a great idea because the whole thing is really a fundraiser, and to have this large sort of presentation of where they're raising the money for, we thought that was a good idea to have the event. And then that left $270, $270, which would provide the money for, we thought they could use the money either to buy the limo or to buy the t-shirts for the event.
Nash? You don't mean buy the limo, right? You mean
No, I'm sorry. Rent the limo for a night to go to Boston. So they can make the decision as to where to put that in. And so, well, the 270 plus the 300 they requested from PCF would go to either renting a limo to go to Boston as the prize, or to provide t-shirts for all the people involved.
Rebecca?
So did you cover the cost for EMT? Like,
Kate? Ultimately, they decide where the money goes, but when we were thinking about it based on their budget breakdown, that was where 24 of that money was going. To have EMT services there because it is a physical event, and they thought having EMT there would be helpful. So, Karan?
Was in the budget, did they talk about like where they're getting balls from? Do they have balls? That's
Kate, I'm sorry, I have to ask you to not speak out of turn. Kate?
That was also coming out of PCF. So because they were asking from the full amount they could get from PCF, that the 270 plus that 300 would be more than what was needed to buy a prize or the t-shirts. So that extra money would go to their miscellaneous needs to put on the actual event.
Other discussion? All right. So all those in favor of allocating $342 from quarter 3 with a 2-week waiver to this Management 100 group, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Kate. And thank you to the Grants Committee for making those hard decisions this week. We're now going to move down the agenda into financial matters. Andrew?
Alright, so for the past 2 weeks, the Finance Committee has been working on a dollar-by-dollar budget breakdown of all money that was allocated in this past budget year, and you all have a copy of it. We actually ran out of paper while printing it, so you only have the first 3 or 4 pages. I also emailed it to all of you at about 5:30, so you'll have a digital copy of it. Looking through it, it's just a discussion of where the money comes from that we allocated, and how each student pays $350 into the student activities fund, and then it breaks down into the amount that we allocate to each fund and each club, the percentages, and then the dollar amount that theoretically would come from each student.
Very interesting. Questions about the dollar-by-dollar breakdown? Ryan?
I just wanted to thank Finance for putting in all this work, particularly over the last 24 hours. They've been doing this nonstop pretty much, so thank you.
Agreed. Very good report. Other discussion? And I believe we had an event today as well.
Right. We had an event called Money Matters. It was a forum on finance, and it was to discuss mid-semester budgets and how annual budgets work with students and club leaders on campus. We had a handful of people there. It was pretty successful. Not the extent of which we would have wanted, but ideally we would have wanted more people there. But
do you have plans in the future to make sure that attendance at these types of events is perhaps greater?
Of course, yeah. There's always more advertising we could have done here, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would urge you to partner with the Communications Committee. They've been really doing some great advertising recently, so I would encourage that greatly. Okay. Other things to report on?
Oh, right. We're doing our audits this week, and today and tomorrow we're doing those. We're going to get back in touch with the clubs within the next 2 days and we're given 2 weeks to appeal our recommendation. And then we'll be presenting our report on the 28th, so right before spring break. And annual budgets will be due March 2nd, so the last day before spring break. And we'll be deliberating those and then deciding on those in April.
Great. Anything else?
No, not at this time.
Questions, comments, concerns? Very cool. All right, thank you very much, Finance Committee. It sounds like you've been doing a lot of hard work over this past week, so thank you for that. And is this budget breakdown going to exist on our website?
But yeah, I'll be emailing that to everyone else tonight.
Perfect. Cool. Thank you. All right, we're going to move down to student life with the organizational committee report. Rory?
So this week we had, or last week I guess, we had 4 requests. We allocated $300 to Hip Hop Collabo for their spring show, $150 for Student Council's very own Money Matters event, $300 for the Students United for Akshaya Trust, and the research mentoring group we unfortunately could not fund because it wasn't really an event they were applying for. So after that, that brings our total allocations this semester to $1,050.
Wow. Okay. What's your total budget?
11,000 was at the beginning of the semester, so that's exactly that. So
I think it was closer to 8 at the beginning of the semester.
8. So if it's 8, then I guess 6,950.
Great. Thank you very much, Rory. Anything else to report from organizational?
We're doing, we got Bus to Boston, I guess, this week.
Yeah.
Oh, would someone like to do it? Because Jean's not here. It's not here. Okay, well, anyone has to change of heart, feel free to email me.
Do you want to go over what that entails?
You have to, you go, there's a list on Link. You print off the sheet. You get a whole list of everyone who's going, show up to the site. You have to stop everyone from getting on the bus first, make them get on individually, make sure they're on the list. It's not too bad.
Now that we have an idea of what we do, is anyone, and when would this be? Saturday at?
Noon, yeah.
At noon?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's a time change, just so everyone's aware. The bus used to come at 2, but now it's at noon. So if your constituents have any questions about that, you can let them know. It's noon. And it goes until, when does it come back? Is it 8 p.m.? So keep that in mind. Anyone interested? Alrighty, well, talk to Rory after the meeting because you're obviously just too shy to let him know now. Alright, well, thank you, Organizational Committee, and we look forward to hearing from you next week. Thank you. We're going to move into the judiciary report. Andrew?
I have stuff to report.
Very
Yeah! Always excited. First, we looked at the charter for Student United for Akshaya Trust. They have university recognition and their charter is constitutional, so I would recommend that you guys move to officially recognize them as a student position.
Ryan?
I move to approve. Could you repeat the name, please?
Students United for Akshaya Trust.
I move to approve Students United for Akshaya Trust.
Akshaya.
Akshaya Trust, I'm sorry, as a CUC recognized organization.
There's a motion on the table to approve the charter for Students United for Akshaya Trust as a CUSC organization. Is there a second? Second by Sam. Questions, the wording, discussion, Ryan?
Oh, I trust Andrew and judiciary's judgment.
Fair. Malat?
Can I just ask what this group is like?
You can ask Hannah.
I blindly trust.
Yeah. So
Hannah?
Hannah. So I came across this YouTube video last semester about this guy in India who gave up his life to basically serve the homeless in Madurai, India. And the caste system in India prevents you if you're a Brahmin, you can't touch the untouchables. But he went through a lot to help these people, and I thought Clark could take on a cause like that. So we're gonna adopt this mission of helping, and we're gonna go to food shelters and every week. So we're just an organization that's gonna get people to come together and go to food shelters. We talked to the ones in Worcester, the AIDS Worcester Project Worcester. So we're gonna start with them first and then slowly branch out to other organizations. We're gonna bring him here in March, so look out for that.
Very exciting. Other discussion? All right, we'll be moving into voting. All in favor of approving this charter, please say aye. Please say aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Corey?
Be a little careful, please say aye.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Yeah, you're present.
You repeated, please say aye.
Yeah.
Fair. I just
Put it out there.
fair enough. All right, Andrew.
All right, the second thing is last week, judiciary was asked whether or not council members would use their listservs to advertise a club which is not sponsored by student council. The answer is no. Oh yeah. No, you can't.
Okay. Fair enough.
That's all I have officially, but on an unofficial level, if anybody has any friends that they think would like to be involved with judiciary, you should tell them to apply.
Let's see. How many spots do you have open?
We have 5 members, so 0 spots there. We have 2 spots for alternates. The reason I ask is because Mark Kadushin, one of our full members, has class until 9:30 every Wednesday. I've asked him if he'd be willing to get bumped down to an alternate. Either way, I'd like a member as an alternate or a full member. Also, it'd be good because 3 of us are graduating this year.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you, Andrew. We're now going to move into, sorry, Rebecca?
So how many should we interview for? Are you just looking for one right now or for 4 in general?
Oh, we're just looking for 1 right now.
Sounds good. All right. Hannah?
You want us to advertise for this?
Would you like, yes. Okay. Yes.
It's a full position?
All right. Rebecca?
The spot that they're looking for is 1 full position
Depending on what Mark decides, it'll be either a full position or an alternate. The difference is actually really minimal. The only difference, the power is the same. The only difference is that a full member is required to come to meetings every week, or an alternate member only comes if they are asked to or feel like it.
Okay. And where do they get applications?
Applications should be in the student council office. If they're not, then they should be online.
They're on the window. They're actually on the court board next to the door. But anything else from judiciary?
That's all I got.
Great. Thank you very much. We're now going to move into internal business with the operations report. I just have some housekeeping things to go over. As you know, and I sent out a fairly strongly worded email, I'm sure you all got. But last week we did reach quorum for about a half an hour, and now that we have a few members that have waived their rights to be at the first portion of the meeting, it's very difficult, or it's more difficult for us to reach quorum because we're effectively always starting with at least 2 members not present. So please be on time. I can't stress that enough. Even today, we had to wait a couple of minutes before we could start the meeting, and it's just essentially not fair to the people that are here on time. And if you're not here on time, then you are wasting the other members' time. I can't really put that any more bluntly. But just please respect your office and respect the fact that you were elected to this position. And I understand that there are extenuating circumstances, but if there are, you need to be letting Hannah know as soon as possible so that we know if we do need to push the meeting back for some extremely extenuating circumstance. So please be aware of that. Additionally, and this is silly, but if you guys could raise your hands and say aye when you mean aye, that would be really helpful. And it's something where it doesn't really matter when we're just sort of talking within ourselves if you raise your hand or not. But you know, once we start not doing it, that it kind of devolves and devolves and devolves, and we're just going to be, you know, we'll end up with a meeting without any sort of order. So please just, you know, respect Robert's Rules of Order. We do keep things pretty lax already, and I just don't want to devolve any further. So please attempt to do that. Okay, so that's sort of my, like, me wagging my finger at everyone else. But now I have something good. So, the administration is kicking off LEAP. I know you've heard this term a million times being on student council, and I think a lot of our constituents don't really have an idea of what LEAP is, and certainly it's hard. It's a sort of a concept that's difficult for even us to put our finger on. Essentially, it's learning effective...
Liberal education effective practice.
Thank you, Ryan. Liberal education effective practice, and it's essentially targeted around integrating certain perspectives and certain experiences within the education, like things like internship, study abroad, theses. They're all tied to this idea that a liberal education should be made up of more than just classes. And so the kickoff date is actually going to be on LEAP Day, funnily enough. And that's going to be on the 29th. And the Office of Marketing and Communications has contacted me and asked if we would be willing to give them some volunteers to help with the day, just for us to be able to explain some of this information to students, to guide them along as they go through a variety of activities in Tilton Hall, some of which include jumping off of trampolines, perhaps, taking pictures, painting, you know, putting handprints on a big class mural, you know, a variety of fun things. And I would really appreciate it if we could have a fairly decent showing. Again, that's the 29th in Tilton Hall from 4 to 7 p.m. So are there people that are going to be there? I will be there. And I believe this is a Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Andrew of February, Vlad, Ryan, Allie, Becca, Rebecca. More information?
Yeah, well, and, I mean, I would like to volunteer, but I do not know exactly.
What time? Oh, you can. Yeah, this is not anything set in stone, but I just like to have an idea that we will have some members and give them a rough number of people that will be willing to show up. Yeah, I think that's a fairly, Sam?
I'll show up.
Awesome. Great, thank you, Kate. All right, so we will have a lot of student council people there, and if you change your mind, let me know one way or the other, and I can give Mike Sullivan an updated list. And that's all I have. Allie? Thanks.
Okay, a couple of weeks ago, I attended the Worcester Intercollegiate Government meeting, which is all of the student governments or student councils within the Worcester Consortium get together and talk about student council related stuff. And the representative from Holy Cross put forward an idea to do like a service project with all of the schools in the consortium. He contacted the mayor's office, and the mayor suggested reaching out to the Hurd Street Discovery Academy and the Nelson Place Elementary School. These are two elementary schools that have libraries that are out of date, and they need funds to update their card catalog system. Because of budget cuts a couple of years ago, they had to get rid of their librarians. So now it's run on parent volunteers, and so having an updated card catalog system would take the heat off the parent volunteers who are really running the show. So they're asking for $1,500 per university or per school within the consortium. And then towards April, when they've actually had these systems installed, maybe like 4 or 5 hours on a Sunday for a few of us to scan some books. And then there's going to be like a big press hoo-ha at the elementary school with the mayor and the school board and the Colleges of the Worcester Consortium and people taking pictures, and it'll be grand. Basically, unfortunately though, we don't really have that kind of money just like lying around. So I was wondering if we could just do like a quick straw poll, like thumbs up if you like the idea, thumbs down if you're like not convinced. Okay, great, that's awesome. So is there anyone who would like to kind of volunteer to take on fundraising? responsibilities for this?
Was this something that's like directly related to like, would student council be like, would it fall under the communication?
Not, depending on what we do as a fundraiser, then we would need communications to like.
If you want us, because we're planning to do a DJ off next month, to use the, no?
Hannah, let me explain. We haven't really decided yet, but that's one of the events that we're thinking of doing for next month. It's still kind of iffy,
yes,
depending on how much money we have left and stuff, but I think it's a good idea. I think Allie, in my fundraising, like baking cookies and stuff, and like,
it's sort of up to whoever wants to take this on. It is a large sum of money. As someone who's done fundraising on the Clark campus before, it's not easy. And you're not going to raise this amount of money with just one fundraiser. So it's going to be like from now until like April.
Ron?
How much was the total sum?
The total sum, the total sum they need from Clark is $1,500. The combined cost to put in this new system in the 2 elementary schools is $10,636.
Could someone take on a fundraising operation, maybe raise like $600? Like, is there any way that you can also front some of the money with the operation, or just no, not at all?
Allie? Katie?
You cannot donate student activities fees, so you can't allocate money for the specific purpose of a donation to an initiative, an entity, organization outside in the community. It's prohibited according to your constitution bylaws, as well as the policies and procedures of money at Clark.
Allie?
I think you were talking more if we were to actually do a fundraiser, not just like take from like grants or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said that they'd be willing to take from us whatever we can contribute, but if we can't raise the full $1,500, that means the other schools in the consortium are going to have to pick up what we can't donate, I guess.
Other discussion? A lot?
How are other schools in the consortium raising their funds? Are they doing it through fundraisers as well?
Allie?
To the best of my knowledge, Holy Cross and Nichols College, they have money available to pay for this. I think Becker was going to do some sort of fundraising activities, but we met about it and then left, and we're supposed to bring it to our respective governments.
Other discussion? Maybe this is something that all the committees can brainstorm about, thinking about perhaps some different ideas of fundraising. Obviously, it would be best if there was one way we could just easily fundraise this amount of money, but I think it's going to require some creative thinking. Allie?
If I could just get one point person who's going to coordinate between the committees, because I can't tell WIG that we're in if we were not really in. Does that make sense?
Does anyone feel strongly about this? Wonderbot?
Would it be possible to advertise this for the club, so some of the clubs that take over and maybe they can provide the fund, so it will be more like some sort of student experience thing rather than just giving money to different schools.
Allie?
The idea is that it's the system for these 2 elementary schools will be kind of given to the schools by the governments, the student governments of the consortium. So we can utilize student groups in fundraising efforts, but the bulk of the funds should come from our fundraising efforts. Because our name is going to get, there's going to be a plaque with all of the schools of the Worcester Consortium with their government's name, and our name's going to be on it, so it should be our efforts.
Sam, did you have a question?
No.
Hannah?
If we do the DJ thing, do you want to fundraise for that?
Rebecca?
Wait, what?
Hannah, if you want to do it's not finalized yet, but if you do this, would you
Rebecca?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
You did?
Yeah. I was saying, we're trying to do an event next month that we will charge for tickets. And so we could give the proceeds to you, but it's probably not going to come out to
Ryan?
Just responding to Rabah's point briefly, yeah, Allie's right. I mean, it is like a student government program, but if you can find a club that's willing to raise this money, I mean, the kids need their library, so if they're willing to do it, let them do it.
Rebecca?
Okay, this is a question for Katie, and it's serious, but okay, so like people have been talking about this idea for like a really good fundraiser, and it's like the Jell-O pool, like you put Jell-O in the pool, like would that be a feasible thing? Because I feel like if we could do that, it'd be like a really cool fundraiser. You know, like you fill our pool up with Jell-O, and then people like dive in. Like, is that a feasible thing for a fundraiser, or no? Like that's a completely serious question.
The Neller pool you want to fill with Jell-O? I could say with much certainty that athletics will say no.
Say hell no.
I think they will say no quite forcefully.
Corey?
No.
As a representative of the swim team.
Yeah.
Rebecca?
To follow up on Becca's comment, is it possible we could get a giant inflatable pool and fill it up with Jell-O?
Okay, so Jell-O wrestling as a sport is very important to me. I actually serve on the Senior Week committee, and we're working on bringing Jell-O wrestling to the Clark community through Senior Week. It is possible to use like a kiddie pool and place that and fill it with Jell-O. But first you're going to need to find a way to dispose of all of that Jell-O, which means you're going to use some sort of like pump truck or something, or Ryan will eat it.
Or Leo.
Can we do pudding?
As long as you can dispose of it.
Okay, serious questions. So serious. A lot. I would like to help you. Other people perhaps willing to help a lot, please. Rebecca, Becca?
Yeah, I can't like take it on fully because I'm involved in so much, but I'll work like with a group of people who wanna.
Rebecca?
I would be willing to make like a triangle committee to like.
Milad?
How about since this seems like a big idea, wouldn't it be better if we created like a group? I mean, an informal group. It wouldn't have to be like a student group, but a group of people that we could, advertise positions and ask the student body if they're willing to take on this.
I mean, I'm so happy you said that because we have this lovely thing in the student council world called ad hoc committees. And if you, Rebecca and Becca, would like to head an ad hoc committee, you can advertise for people in the general Clark community and work with them. So I would very much encourage you to do that, but we kind of do need people to sort of like spearhead it and organize it and things like that. Baran?
My house has been fairly successful in the past at raising money. We raised $400 for cancer organization.
What has been fairly good?
We like.
Oh, your house.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Maybe happy to.
Maybe you could talk to the committee off the record. Milad?
Is there a deadline? Is there a specific deadline to when this money is needed?
Allie?
The Holy Cross representative needs to know if we're in and how much we can provide, so we need to give him like a ballpark of yes, we can fundraise the full amount, or no, we can't do the full amount. We can try for 1,000 or something. I need to tell him yesterday. So it's kind of quick. As to when they actually need the funds, April 1st, April 2nd is when they actually need the check.
Fair enough. Other discussion? I think this was was very productive, and I'm excited for the future of this idea. And please triumvirate if you have any requests from the other members of council. Please don't hesitate. And if you need support from me personally, I'm willing to help as well. Other agenda items, Allie?
I met with Chief Delight about running Escort over the summer. Because of a lack of funds, they're not going to be able to run Escort over the entire summer, but they are looking into starting Escort earlier, so it would start the beginning of August. So if you're coming back to campus early, you would be able to utilize Escort. And then also, Chief mentioned that the university is looking into installing 10 more security cameras around campus. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the security cameras that are already on campus, but they're like not monitored 24/7. They're used to like stop crime like retroactively or something like that. I don't know. They use a lot of fancy words. Anyway, if you have any suggestions as to where you think security cameras would be like a good addition, please let me know so I can pass that on to Chief.
Is Chief Delight interested in student council funding for these security cameras?
No, the university would fund it.
Very exciting. For those of you that don't know, student council did fund part of the former security camera initiative, and that's why there are increased presence on campus. But it's good to know that the university is interested in funding these ones. Awesome. Thank you very much, Allie. All right, we're going to move into the treasurer report. Ryan?
Just one brief thing. I'm sorry it's not on the agenda. An update of sorts from the recycling initiative. You may have noticed that implementation has kind of steamed up, and there are now recycling bins all over Jefferson, the AC, etc., which is personally very exciting for me. What I wanted to ask you guys about was A, if you've been hearing any feedback about them, and B, more specifically, if you think that any of them are in places where they're not getting enough traffic, or if there are places where they could be that they would get more traffic. Because I know Jenny Eisler and the recycling team would be very interested in that information.
Becca?
JC01 doesn't have one.
All right.
They're at a former class right now.
Good to know. Leo?
People have told me that they don't know where they are.
Okay.
Is there a way of creating a master plan, master map?
I think such a thing sorry.
Right?
I think such a thing already exists. They don't know what they are?
No, where they are.
Where?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, yes.
Other discussion? I mean, I personally would like to thank Jenny Eisler and the Recycling Initiative for the lovely recycling bin in our office. I would encourage all to use it. It is a splendid contraption. Other comments? All right. Is that all right?
That's all.
Hannah?
Nothing much, just if you need publication, please let us know, and we'll be glad to publicize that for you.
And I've also asked Hannah to report on the absence totals. So Hannah, if you would mind reading the absences.
This is not counting today, this is from last semester. So Lisa 0, Sam 1, myself 1.5, Andrew Shushu 0, Ryan 0.5, Allie 0, Joseph 0, G 1.5, Devin 0, Unabat 0, Nick 0.5, Nate 1, Leo 2.5, Rory 0, Malat 0.5, Rebecca L 0, Rebecca S 1.5, Baran 4.5, John 1, Andrew 0, Elena 2.5, Mark 1, Corey 1.
Okay, and is anyone exceeding the total?
If anyone exceeds 6, then we'll have to do what we did with Joseph.
Okay. So far no one has exceeded the total, so everyone is fine. Alrighty, is that all?
Yeah, that's all.
We're now going to move into the elections committee report. Rebecca?
So we had a lot of successful interviews today, so positions will be filled. Yeah, they were really good. If you're applying or running for e-board for this upcoming term, don't forget that what's the word I'm looking for? Petitions are due tomorrow by 5 o'clock in the student council office. And then at 9 p.m. there'll be a mandatory meeting, unless you've already spoken to us and have a really good excuse. And then Monday is the debate in Tilton at 7 p.m. So even if you're not running, you should be there for support because you're student council. So Monday, 7 p.m. in Tilton, debate.
And I think we'd also ask communications committee to help us
Publicize.
Yeah. Anything else, Rebecca?
Oh, thank you.
Cool. We're now going to move down to communications committee. Rebecca?
I have nothing to report except for we had a really successful Kazoo Council yesterday. And I thank everybody who came out or stopped by or just gave a kiss. Yep. Thank you.
It was a thing of beauty. Additionally, we gave out slips with elections information, so I think that was a really good move on communications committee's part, and I know I personally enjoyed my time. So thank you very much, and we look forward to your future communications endeavors. All right, there is no unfinished business, so we're going to move down into new business. We are to care of agenda item A. We have a very fascinating idea that was brought to me by John from our Judiciary Committee about the possibility of having a commuter representative. And I would just like to hand the floor over to him to discuss it.
Hi. So basically, I just I was kind of reading over the Constitution. Yes, I read it over sometimes. Sorry. I was reading it over, and it says, in terms of off-campus representatives, what it says is there should be for every 150 students that live off-campus in Clark-owned housing, there should be a representative on council. The same with every 150 off-campus for non-Clark-owned housing students, which means commuter students. So I've always kind of, we have off-campus representatives, but they're usually for Clark-owned housing reps, houses that are owned by Clark. But our representatives off-campus are never really cover commuter students. So just looking at that, I thought that was just something, a suggestion I wanted to make to the City Council to maybe have one representative. After speaking with Jeff Himmelberger, he's the head of institutional research here at Clark. 79% of students that live at Clark 71% of students that are at Clark live on campus, whether that's on campus under the halls or off-campus housing, and 29% are commuter students, which comes up to 600 and something commuter students. I think it would be a little bit not. I don't think it would be. I think it would be a little exaggerated to have so many representatives for commuters, but I do think that it's in order to have at least one person on council that's representing the commuter voice. As a commuter student, I think it's, something good. I've heard some commuter students that also have things to say and to offer to the school. And for instance, I know we were talking about the renovation with the bistro when Family Services came. When the community lounge will possibly be eliminated to make a bigger bistro, I was just wondering, at that moment, was there someone here on council that could represent the commuter voice, So it's just kind of an issue that I just wanted to bring to you guys and just kind of throw it out here.
I think it's a very well thought out idea. I just want to clarify one thing. So we have houses reps, Andy Bernard was the houses rep, and he represented the houses that Clark owns, and then we have 3 students that are off-campus representatives, and they represent everyone that lives in houses that are not owned by Clark. So essentially commuter students. But I still think that there is a distinction between, say, someone that lives a town over and lives with their parents and commutes to Clark, or someone that lives in Worcester and commutes to Clark. I think that there is. I understand where you're coming from. There is a distinction from someone that lives on Florence Street and someone that is driving to Clark from, with a commute, essentially, in the commuter students route. So I just want to clarify that. Mm-hmm. Theoretically, there are representatives that do represent that constituency, from a theoretical perspective, but certainly I understand that there's a difference between, say, someone commuting from a longer distance. But I would like to open this for discussion. Thoughts? Sam?
I think it's a really good idea, and I always kind of stood by representation, having proper representation of groups. If there is this group, it sounds like there are. I'm sure if the people in there have the addressing things, their voices should be heard, or we should try to continue to accommodate their voices.
I have a question for judiciary. Would this require like a change in the bylaw, or a creation of a bylaw, or amendment to a constitution?
It would create a new
Position.
Yeah, it would be a new constitutional amendment.
Would that require us to poll the student body?
Yeah.
I have a question, and this is something Katie and I discussed. How would we determine who is a commuter student? Because we do right now have representatives that represent those that live off campus and non-Clark owned housing. But how do we define who exactly is a commuter student? Ryan?
Clark RLH has a definition of commuter students that they use in order to exempt people from living on campus in the first 2 years. It would be an imperfect mechanism to just double that, but I think that may be an option, to cover for junior and senior years, because presumably those people continue being commuters. That's not a perfect mechanism again, but it would get you pretty close to the number you're looking for, and particularly as we're operating multiples of 150, I don't think it would be that far off to get you the wrong number of representatives. The definition is that your permanent residence before coming to Clark is within 25 miles of home of Clark, and you elect to be a commuter. So you can live on campus if you live within 25 miles of Clark, but you are not required to. And so they have records of who those students are. Once you become a junior, as Lisa said, they don't keep records anymore because you can live off campus on Florence Street. It's the same thing for them.
Other comments? Okay.
One of the options Lisa and I discussed, one of the possibilities Lisa and I discussed earlier today was similar to with our minority rep position. We don't define a list of students who can vote for minority rep positions. Students opt into that. So essentially, anybody on campus, if they identify as a minority student, can vote for that position. And we could do something similar for a commuter rep position in that list of eligible voters would be populated by anybody who lives off campus, and they could opt in as to whether or not they felt they were a commuter or not. Is another available option to populate a constituency for that position.
Other comments? Is there someone that would like to work with John in creating this amendment to the Constitution? Sam? That would be great. As it would be an amendment to the Constitution, it's something that would need to go out to the entire student population in terms of voting. So unfortunately, because there is 2 weeks until the next election starting tomorrow, that's when we would need this this amendment to be in by. If we wanted to put it on this current election, you can discuss if you think that's feasible. If not, we can have a special election to determine this matter. But just so you know what that timeline is. Other people willing to work with Sam and John? Okay. I think that's a strong committee in any case. And I would just urge you to be very particular about word choice and particular about sentence structure and all of those lovely things, because this is would be a very important piece of documentation that we will be referring to in years to come. So good luck, and please contact me if I can be any sort of resource. Great. Very fabulous idea, John. And if anyone has these ideas, please feel free to email me, because I think that ideas like this, where we kind of rethink certain conventions, are the most important thing to keeping council fresh and keeping us moving in the right direction. So please feel free to let me know what's on your mind. So thank you. All right, so we're going to move into our last item, and this is This is a fairly serious matter, so I would urge you all to keep up your stamina for the last portion of this meeting. So it was brought to the executive board's attention that when we were allocating for mid-semester budgets, the finance committee was unfortunately operating under the incorrect assumption as far as the total of the money that they had in terms of allocation. The issue was that they did not take into account, or the number that they were using did not take into account the fact that we had allocated money for the projector that is the new projector in the cafeteria that displays all the CAP slides. That amount of the projector was around a little bit over $4,000. Was $5,974, and there was $2,463.92 left over in mid-semester budgets. So after subtracting that $2,000 from the approximately $6,000, there is a $3,510.08 discrepancy in the mid-semester budget at this moment. That means that the fund is overdrawn, and I would urge suggestions about where to take that money from. As an executive board, we were very much split on how we would recommend this money be provided for. There's a couple different options that we discussed, and I would like you all to consider them and to consider the pros and cons of each option. The first of which is that one of us would apply for a grants committee, a grants allocation for this amount of money. The pros with this approach is that the money is coming from this fiscal year, so that there's $60,000 to begin with in the grants fund, and if we decided to ask grants for this amount, of course, they're a completely separate body from us, so we're not sure what their answer would be. But if sort of operating from a theoretical perspective, let's say they did decide to grant us the full amount, that would mean that there would be that much less money in that fund for clubs to pull from. And that would additionally mean that we would sort of take care of this expense this year, and that the money would come from the fiscal books from this year, and it wouldn't roll over into next year. Another idea that the executive board had was taking it from the programming portion of the cumulative surplus. Essentially, what that would mean is that we would be running at a, I don't have the number right off the top of my head, but there's $15,000 to begin with in programming. We took $4,000 out of it for the Sean Kingston concert, which left us at $9,000. And so, $11,000. If we also took this additional $3,500 from that account, then we would have
$7,500-ish.
Then we would have $7,500-ish in that account. Essentially, that would mean taking the money from next year's council or councils to come, because then essentially grants would, let's say grants would, sorry, that was really distracting. Then grants would say spend the entire $60,000 that they were allocated. Then there would be no money rolling from grants into cumulative surplus, and then cumulative surplus would also have that discrepancy. I'm not sure if this is making sense. So essentially, those are two options that we were discussing, and I would like to open the floor up to other options, and additionally discussing the pros and cons of both of those ideas. Devin?
I personally prefer the programming because I think you could call it ethical reasons and also for marketability reasons, it was council's mistake, and so I think grabbing that money right now, essentially I think some clubs would feel like out of the hands of those clubs for the rest of the year could bring some negative PR, and that's something that we've really been trying to work on. I think since it has been a mistake on the part of council, I think even though it won't be the exact same membership moving forward, council is council, that's the body, so that we should take responsibility for that and take a hit ourselves.
Okay. Rebecca?
I just have a question. Is the programming account like refunded every year?
Ryan?
Yeah, so the programming portion is just the amount of cumulative surplus that's between 50,000 and 65,000. So currently the entire fund stands at 61,000. There's a $50,000 base, and then the amount that's between that, just whenever there's any money in there, goes to programming portion. So when at the end of the year, Katie and SLP go through all the books and see which clubs haven't spent money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it all rolls back into the surplus. And if the amount goes up past 65,000 in total, then yes, the program portion will be completely refilled.
In the case where if clubs overspend, for example, then the money would be taken out of the fund. So there's no way to predict if clubs are going to overspend or underspend, but the discrepancy or the increase will roll over into cumulative surplus. Additionally, if, say, the grants committee does not spend the $60,000, or say PCF does not spend their allocation, that money also rolls into that fund. Or if they overspend, then it would be taken from that fund. All roads lead back to the cumulative surplus. Rebecca?
Just additionally, the programming account money, can that be used for programs put on by student council?
Right.
Andrew can discuss this as well if you'd like, but basically the programming portion can be used for whatever student council deems to be a program. So we could deem this to be a program. I think there's actually, putting aside the cynical view of it, there's actually a pretty good case that a projector is in fact directly related to programming. This is one of the main vehicles for advertising on campus for clubs and other organizations. And so I think that it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to say that this projector cost does constitute programming.
Additionally, the projector isn't something that is student council related in any sense, I would say, because it's for club use. Other comments, Katie?
Just to give a little bit more detail on the cumulative surplus, I can never say that word properly. So essentially, the books close in June for all clubs and organizations, all departments, and so on. So my office, in the past it was me. This summer it'll be Kirsten and I. We'll go through all of the accounts for clubs and organizations and see who's overspent, see who underspent, and so on. Clubs that overspend their budgets will get docked according to student council finance committees, internal procedures regarding fines that are levied for things that happen. Typically, if somebody overspends by $200, their budget next year gets docked $200. Anything that is left over will roll into cumulative surplus. There is no way to predict what the 120 groups that have budgets are going to shake out to be in June, unfortunately. I wish I could give you a magic number. I just can't. Some years it's been, it varies from year to year, and there's no pattern as to what it could be. I will say that this year's 70,000 excess on top of your base and your programming was the result of a number of years of accumulation. It's not every year $70,000 is going to end up extra in cumulative surplus, but usually it's in the range of $20 to $35, maybe $40,000. Typically, we say around 30 to 35 is a comfortable range that it typically ends up in. But again, I unfortunately cannot tell you with any certainty what that number will be until those books close and we take a look at what's left over in club budgets, what's left over in all of the set fixed budget accounts, grants, transportation, PCF, etc.
Another suggestion is that we just leave the mid-semester budgets overdrawn, and then that money essentially will come out of cumulative surplus in the end, but it won't be taken out right this second. Ryan? Well,
just to clarify that a little bit, so this third option is that right now the mid-semester budget account has a deficit of $3,510.08. We could choose to take no action now, and then when the money rolls in for mid-semester budgets next year, it would just immediately be debited that amount, and you would proceed with the amount there. So it would kind of come out of the fund next year. The plus to that is you don't have to take any action now, kind of leave the program portion as is and leave grants numbers as is. The minus is you may not be on council next year. We don't know who will be, and that'll be taking some money out of their hands. as well as out of clubs heads who might be looking for mid-semester money. So there's pluses and minuses to all three of the options.
I'd love to entertain a motion if anyone has an opinion on this matter. Allie?
I move to allocate, how much do we need, $6,000?
35.
35.
10, wait.
35,000. No. 3,558.
No.
Okay, I'm reading that one. $3,510.08 from the programming portion of community surplus.
There's a motion on the table to allocate $3,510.08 from the programming portion of cumulative surplus to provide for the cafeteria projector. Is there a second? Second by Devin. Questions to the wording? Discussion? Allie?
I sort of agreed with what Devin said. I think this is the best way for student council to sort of own a mistake that we as an entity made, and you know, considering grants committee has been echoing that they do feel a little strapped this semester, I think this is just the best way that we can sort of fix the situation.
Other comments? Discussion? Okay. Then all those in favor of allocating $3,510.08 from the programming portion of the cumulative surplus to pay for this projector, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention. Motion carries. Okay. So now that I just want to update us perhaps on the state of our financial affairs. So there is a very low total now in cumulative surplus. And please be advised that sort of all roads lead to cumulative surplus. And, you know, I guess this might just be a personal thing, but I really do want to leave future councils with the ability to fund clubs endeavors and with the ability to, you know, with the ability to really have some of the same impact that we've been able to, and I think we've done really wonderful things with the cumulative surplus. But just be aware that this, you know, this and other things that have come up really have depleted the cumulative surplus to a large extent. So just be careful with your spending, whatever sort of funds that you do have control over. Andrew?
I'd like to respectfully disagree with Lisa. I don't see the cumulative surplus as a fund that we're giving to future council members. I see cumulative surplus as an amount of money which represents the accumulated inefficiencies of previous years. The way I see it, every time we don't spend all our money, all the SIF every single year, we're in a sense taking money away from the students who pay the SIF that year. And some of it's unavoidable, yeah, because we're not perfectly efficient. We can't predict how much money every club's going to spend. But I think that our primary purpose should be to run programming and not to make sure that cumulative surplus is quite large.
And I think that that's definitely a fair perspective, and I certainly wasn't attempting to discount that either. Just in terms of making sure that we're staying on the pace of being making fiscally sound decisions. I certainly wouldn't say like stop programming.
Yeah, I agree with Andrew's point and with your follow-up. The other thing to keep in mind is cumulative surplus doesn't earn interest, and so it's not allowed to earn interest by our Constitution. And so money that's not spent is losing value in terms of purchasing power. So it's economically better to spend it this year than next year, than next year, than next year, etc. So in my perfect world, it would be right at 50,000 at the end of every term. But that's my perspective.
All right, other discussion? I think we're discussioned out. All right, so we're going to move on to last words. Ryan? Katie?
I see Rebecca Liebman up in
Can I see Andrew after the meeting? This one. Other comments? Last words, Devin?
I don't know if this was brought up before. This is the first time I've seen that new camera, and I just want to thank the organization for having it here. I think it's good. A little while ago we passed that, I forget what it was called, but we lumped together the media groups and we gave them money. And so thank you for bringing this to us to help deliver the message better. So.
The other very exciting thing is that there's a very large microphone on that camera, which means that we can now be heard when we're on TV, which is quite exciting. Other comments? Allie?
The Griffin and Pleiades Honor Society is beginning a new, I don't know what you would call it, but we're calling it Leader of the Week. And we're trying to honor student leaders in both who take part in extracurricular activities as well as academic excellence. So if you know of somebody who you think sort of exemplifies leadership within the Clark community, email clarku.leadership@gmail.com with their name, their class year, and like briefly why you think they exemplify leadership. And then we're gonna work with the Skylit and different advertising outlets around campus to highlight their accomplishments. So take advantage of that.
I also want to talk to Leo after the meeting. Leo and then Andrew. Katie?
You all got an email about GMP Leader of the Week about 20 minutes before the meeting. Please send your nominations to the email address located in the text of email, not my email address. I've already gotten 3 nominations in the last 2 hours to my email. So yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Katie. Andrew?
I'd like to speak with Sam and Marco.
Anyone else? Right. Did you have something?
I was going to move to adjourn.
Right.
Move to adjourn the meeting.
Discussion. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions?
Oh,